We hope you enjoy this clip. Before you watch it, please hit that subscribe button. The big takeaway for me was just Jokic and how good he is. Another 40-point triple-double last night. He does things on the basketball court that appear to be simple, but they're really not. And I know you guys have played against him in the playoffs in a 7-game series. What do you see with Jokic? What is about him that is so special?
Man, he is just like it's crazy because he's not by any means the athletic guy on the floor, but he just knows his game. I think he's a player that just knows who he is on that court. And you put a small guy on him, he punishes him. Somebody his size, he uses his smarts and wits. It's a tough matchup, and it's one that we failed to figure out so far. But it was I was blown away because I have quick hands, and like some of the passes that they were throwing to him, they were kind of out of his range. But the way that he could tip it and get it back to himself, those are usually steals. On anybody else, if that ball is thrown outside of your area, I'm getting it. And the way that he can just quick tip it and get it right back and go right up with it. And, he gets up, pretty quick for a guy that's not athletic. Like his second jump, he's right back on the play. So he's just a tough cover. And like, we tried everything from switching to putting myself, Kawhi on him to having Mace guard him. Like it was, we had no answer for him yesterday.
In watching the game, obviously Mason guarded him quite a bit, but at times Nico was on him, you guarded him, Kawhi guarded him, and so a lot of the strategy was around fronting, and that was something I noticed as well on those lob passes over the top. And you guys got a couple of them that were sort of underthrown, but the lob passes over the top, it with your guys' length, it seemed like you were going to get the basketball, and he's just able to sort of corral everything within his space. Dwight was way more athletic than him, but the player that I relate that to, because I played with Dwight, was just his ability to grab a basketball that was outside of everyone else's space. Like the normal amount of space that a player can cover and get a basketball, Dwight was as good as anyone at getting something outside his space, and Jokic does that. The other thing I loved at the end of the game, so obviously Murray has the basketball, and you guys put Kawhi on him. You were guarding Jamal, and they were running up another pick and roll. So a lot of times it was Eric Gordon's guy late game to get the first switch, and then they'd run the second pick and roll with Jokic to get Eric Gordon on him. And it's that like game of chess at the end of the game that I find so interesting. The manipulation of matchups, and everybody does it, but that's the part of the game to me right now that is like really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, it's chess, and so like we were doing it on our end. We found like if Murray or KCP was going to guard me and Gordon was going to be on Kawhi, well then I'll set the screen, put Kawhi on the block with a smaller player on him, like KCP or Jamal Murray or Bruce Brown. Like we'll go at him that way as well. But it's just, it's what the game turned into, especially with a bunch of guys or a bunch of teams that are going towards the switching lineups. Because it's just so hard. Like it's hard to be in coverage with the way the game is played now and how well teams shoot. You try to keep out of, rotations as much as possible. And so like, yeah, what Coach Malone did over there was smart, trying to get EG into the action to free up, because we know where the ball is going. We know what's going to happen. And he's so good in the middle of the floor. I think that's why it's so tough with Philly as well. You put Joel Embiid in the middle of the floor, and now you can't double or you can't, he can see all of that.
Right, when I mean? He's facing at the elbow or facing at the foul line, it's impossible to bring a double. Yeah,
no double. You can't double from right there, and so it's just you're at his mercy at that point.
Well, JJ and I have talked about this a bunch. Are you surprised at all at the level of parity in the West?
Not really, because like the young teams are they're not the young teams anymore. Like they've gotten better. They're experienced now. You look at what Memphis is doing. Sac has finally put it together. And then you got the veteran teams that just add guys after guys after guys, and ultimately they form a team that's ready to compete just off of added talent. So not really, not really. I think this is what you expect, especially with these young teams that are figuring it out now.
You mentioned Sacramento. I know you've played in a lot of high-level basketball games. Was that I was calling the Suns game, so I didn't even get to watch it. I'm so mad. I saw highlights from end of regulation when you guys were supposed to foul. And then the overtime highlights. But was that the craziest game you've ever been a part of?
That was by far the craziest game. Like the first quarter, it was like, all right, this is easily going to be a shootout. Like, because we weren't getting stops, they weren't getting stops. We had fresh energy having Russ in the lineup, so I knew we were going to be playing at a high pace. And that's Sacramento's MO, is play at a high pace. So I knew it was going to be a high scoring game, but almost 400 points combined by two teams. That's crazy.
Where are you at mentally by like overtime one when you're going through something like this?
I mean, you look up and it's 150, 153 tie. Like, we put up 153. You should win that game. You know what I mean? And, it's just like, how long are we going here? Like, we're exhausted. And we're playing against guys that are 25, 26. Like, we're exhausted. And they still, I know they got energy still. I know they played off of back-to-back, but when I played off back-to-backs, like, I loved it. I felt like I was more ready on a back-to-back night because I felt like, my body was like warmed up at that point to play a back-to-back. So for them, that back-to-back was nothing. We were playing against young legs. And I know if we didn't put that game away early, that it was in their hands at that point.
We hope you had fun with us today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button.